Oh. ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
Hari Om. In the last session, we saw that the topic of journey of a Jeeva, it begins with correctly understanding what is the standpoint of various schools of philosophy. We began with the understanding of what is the relationship between me and God. From the dualistic perception, God and creation are two different things, and God created and He has disconnected Himself from this creation. And therefore there are three aspects: the universal matter called the world, and the individual soul, and each soul is individually different from each other. And therefore each are individual manifestations, which is a composite of matter and life, and God is the one who created. This is a perception of a dualistic philosophy. There is a school of philosophy which developed in India, which is called qualified monism, where God created the universe and a part of Him became a soul. In other sense, the soul's individual beings are none other than the little manifestations of the same supreme power. It is like fire and sparks, water and drops. And the difference between these two is that a spark is also fire but does not have that same power. A drop of water is also water, but it does not have that vastness. So this is the idea of qualified monism, which is known as Visishta Advaita. We also saw various schools of philosophy, their views, and how Advaita Vedanta, which is basically what is taught by Lord Krishna at the battlefield for Arjuna, where he clearly mentions that you have to lift yourself by yourself, and thus God or even Guru can help you discover the vast freedom that you already have and the God consciousness that you are. As though you are locked inside and you have lost the key within yourself, you need the help from the Guru or the scriptures to unlock yourself. Whereas the dualistic philosophy believes that we are locked from outside and only somebody outside alone can help us out of it, and therefore worship of God becomes an unavoidable part of this process or the journey of the Jiva. As the dualistic qualified monism which we talked about is where the solution is inside, the key is inside, but the lock is inside and the So the key is outside and somebody has to hand over the key to you through the window, and then through the window call the prayer, and then you will be able to come out of it. Whereas the atheistic philosophy does not believe that they are ever bound, and the whole purpose of living is to enjoy the material experiences in this world, and there is no need for any freedom, and then the freedom itself is only a mere illusion. So this is the atheistic philosophy. Now we also saw how Bhagavan Krishna, Lord Krishna, explains how to know me. Knowing me, you need not know anything more, which is to say, knowing the God, knowing the Lord as oneself is the end of the journey of a Jeeva. And also it says that the mind, being the one which is the key to the freedom, and the mind becomes wise by obeying the knowledge of the intellect, as Gurudev would put it. That is to say that the intellect in us is the abode of knowledge, and that is being inspired by the scriptures, by the teachings of the Guru. And the mind, which is usually connected to the senses and the demands of the mind, demands of the body, when it is preoccupied with that, it becomes unwise or worldly. When the mind starts listening to the intellect and its instructions as guided by the scriptures or the Guru or its own independent thinking, mind becomes wise by obeying the commands of the intellect. And why that the God, which is the symbol of all freedom, is not easily available to all? The reason for that is given by the Lord as due to lack of self-application. We do not see that much as God realization as a goal or freedom as the goal, and we are so caught up in our worldly duties in everyday life. And he also says that many people attempt to know him, and only few succeed in knowing intellectually, and very, very rare one know the Lord fully, completely, in his own essence. And that is not to discourage us that it is hard to do that, but the process is long. Yes, it takes time. And in the next slide we saw that the Lord Krishna explains that I am not too far away from you. I am not at all far away from you, as it is believed by the dualistic philosophy that God created the world and is become unconnected to the world. No, it is not. He is the part and parcel of the entire creation. And he explains that I have two aspects, the higher and lower nature. The lower nature contains the body, the prana, the mind, the intellect, the impressions, the vasanas. But my higher nature is what knows the matter. And that is indicated in this slide as Om. And why is that we are not identifying ourselves as the higher nature? It's because of the constant identification with our lower nature, and that is called ego, the identifying element. Thus, the identification is bondage, knowing that it is a mistaken identity is freedom. Lord Krishna went on to say that this very knower in you, the consciousness in you, is common to all living beings. And all living beings, even though they by name and form and character and nature and qualities function, they are so different from each other. A tiger is not the cat, cat is not the fish, fish is not a parrot, parrot is not an elephant, elephant is not a hen, hen is not a dog, dog is not a man, man is not an insect. And so many different creatures are there. But there is one element which is constantly present in all and common to all. Even though each appear different from other form, nature, function, etc., the common factor, that one which connects all, is the presence of God as life. Independent of life, the entire thing is a perishable matter. And what is the nature of this Lord who is presiding in our own body as life? He says, I am the taste in the water, light in the sun and the moon, sound in space, smell of earth, brilliance in fire, life of all living beings. In other words, that which remains in a substance from the beginning to end and without which the thing cannot ever maintain its identity is called its dharma, the law of being. So the Lord is none other than the pure expression of every being, and every being is because of its nature. That very nature which makes an individual or a thing is, that very law is the expression of the Lord. We also saw dharma is the way to God, and any desire that doesn't contradict the law of being is the way to God. Strength without selfish desire and attachment is His power. All qualities of the mind expressed only in His presence. They are in Him, He is not in them. We also know that in everyday life we have the sattvic quality of learning and knowing, rajasic quality of activity and greed, tamasic qualities of laziness and lethargy. We all go through that. And every individual being has been experiencing these three moods of oneself. So these qualities are there as part of the matter in His presence, but He is not in them. When qualities of the mind are considered real, we don't see Him. Instead, we see only what the mind projects as reality. This is the power of illusion, hard to overcome without devotion to God. These are the set of slides we saw in the last session. So continuing on this chapter 7, Bhagavan comes to say more about himself. Before we try to understand the nature of God from the words of Lord Krishna himself, he talks about who or what is evil. So evil is very beautifully defined by somebody as that which is opposite to LIVE. If you put the LIVE in the opposite direction, it becomes evil. So evil is none other than the absence of values that support live and let live. Any kind of action, any kind of even thought that disturbs the entire dharma of existence. So that is what we saw in the previous slide, that the law of being, anything that disturbs being, anything that disturbs the dharma of existence is evil. It is to say that the negativity which we have are not there. They are only absence of goodness. If you say there is a bad person, there is a sinner, there is a person who commits a lot of sin, what is there in him is the absence of goodness. Love, compassion, forgiveness, tolerance, these when they become absent, this very absence is what we consider as negativities. So, as Gurudev writes, the more an individual misunderstands himself to be only a mass of flesh and continuously pants for self-gratification through the sense indulgences, the more he is considered as a sinner. Sin in this sense is but a devolutionary action which is not appropriate to the dignity and status of the highest evolutionary glory in man. So sin is self-insulting nature, S-I-N. It is what you are and you are going against yourself. Say like for example, I am alive. But if I go against my own life, that is sin. That is why in most of the religions, suicide is considered as sin. Why? Because if you say, I have the right to live, who can stop me if I can live or I don't need to live? I mean, if I can end my own life. No, you don't have the right to do that. If you say that I have the right to live and I have the right to die, no, you don't have the right to die. Because you are going against life. So also, I am alive and every living being is alive. And if I stop the other being alive, meaning disturbing in any way, that is sin. It is similar to a law that is put in by a particular constitution in a city or a country, and it is said, don't do this. And if you do that, that means it is going against it. Or do this, and if you don't do that, again, that is a sin. So not doing what is supposed to be done, doing what is not supposed to be done, both are sin. So it is going against the law of being. So when in the legal terms it is called illegal, in the moral term it is called immoral, in ethical terms it is called unethical. So unethical, immoral, illegal, all these are all evil. So going against what is established as norm, that is what is called evil. So but in the spiritual context, what it means is that any kind of negativities that an individual have which do not allow him to reach his own self, our strong prejudices and likes and dislikes which do not allow us to go towards our own being, to reach God, is evil. So that is why Krishna very beautifully puts it that the people who have these evil tendencies cannot know me. So that evil is that not only is dangerous to oneself, not able to free oneself, but also it will be dangerous to the people around such an individual or set of people. So then, who worships God? What is the purpose of worshipping a particular form of God? What is the purpose of worshipping any deity or rituals? Why they are? So broadly classified, there are 4 types of devotees. As Krishna would say, Chadurvida bhajante mam, janaha sukridinaha. Men who have, or people who have a good disposition, good values, where their negativities are relatively less, come to recognize that anything that I need in my life basically need to be gotten from the very source itself. Like for example, if I need vegetable, where do I go for? I can grow in my own backyard. I can get the seed and dig up the earth there, put the seed there, water it and expose it to sun and put some fertilizer, whatever is necessary. And then there you are. Then the vegetable comes to be growing there and then I can have it, right? So where is the source? What is the source of that vegetable? The seed, the earth, the water, the fire, the sunlight, and all that thing. So these things are already there for the vegetable to manifest, right? Or I can go to the marketplace and it is already been grown and then put in the market, and then I go and give money and buy it. So that is a shorter form, shortest route. So I don't need to spend my time in creating the, cultivating the vegetables, and then I can go and buy it myself and by just giving the money. Or I can go to a restaurant and have food. Why should I even bother to cook? I can go and have food in a restaurant, right? Or latest thing is I don't even need to eat. I just need a pill which will appease my hunger. Okay, that is also possible. So you can go and cultivate yourself, or you can go and buy in a market and cook, come on and cook, or you can go to the restaurant and eat, or even better than that, get the hunger out by just eating a pill. Now there are various ways to go do things, but those who want that source, all the happiness that I need in my life at different levels, I can go to the Lord and get it. This going back to the source is what is called worship. Please understand, you don't need to worship God. But if you have a need, if you have a desire, that desire has to be fulfilled. You can go in many ways. Like for example, if I want money, I can go and loot from my neighbor. I can kill my neighbor and get the money. Or I can loot a bank. Or I can work hard and get it. There are many ways to get the money. So, what is the source of all living being? What is the source of the whole existence? The one who realizes that the whole existence has been from one source, that is God, then such an individual will proceed on to worship God. Human needs are 4 in number: physical, psychological, intellectual, and spiritual. Now, if you look at how they are important to our life, if you look at it carefully, the physical needs, for example, my physical body is sick, let us say. I have some sickness and disease. So that is actually would be an important part of my life, which is my social life. I am a part and parcel of this society and I want to live healthy. So my physical needs are basically to be part of a society of people, of living beings. And when I look at myself from a psychological standpoint, I have emotional needs. These emotional needs are regarded important by me with respect to all the relationships that I have, my family, my friends, my office colleagues, my other known people, and wherever that I am. So the emotionally I need satisfaction. So there are physiological needs also. There are intellectual needs with respect to how much I know and education, status, my learning capacity, what is my knowledge base, and how it is regarded and respected by the people around. That creates my self-esteem. The more self-confidence that I have that about my own intellectual ability, the greater will be my self-esteem. If I do not have a correct understanding or I do not have a knowledge base, then my self-esteem will be low. The fourth aspect of my need is spiritual need, which many of them do not realize that it is a very important part of human existence. Pardon me for the mistake there in enlightenment or something is right. Enlightenment is the right one. The G is not necessary there. Anyway. So enlightenment or emancipation, realization of God or freedom, moksha, whatever you call it as, nirvana, that is a spiritual need and that we always overlook. We go only up to intellectual self-esteem, self-pride, whatever, but we don't go to the next level, the spiritual. So Krishna says there are 4 types of people who come to worship me. Those who need physical help, somebody is sick, they can go to medicine, etc. If it is not resolved by medicines of every kind, then obviously the source, the final answer lies in God. So those people, some of them worship God for their physical need, and those who need Lord for psychological needs, mentally disturbed, they want some kind of peace, they go there. Somebody may require intellectually, they want to understand scriptures, etc. They go for that. And there are very few of them who actually look at the Lord as the source of the entire existence. And that is, these people are called jnani. They are called jnanis because they know everything is centered upon the Lord only. Whether it's intellectual, whether it's physical, psychological, or even wealth, all these are all the one source is only there, and the Lord. And such jnanis or the great saints do not seek God for fulfilling intellectual or physical and psychological needs. They say, if I can know Him, if I know the source, if I can worship Him and He loves me, then all my problems are solved. It is like a child when it needs something, what does it do? It doesn't go and buy itself. It doesn't have the money. It doesn't go and look for things in the shop. It just goes to the mother and said, Mom, I need this, or Dad, I need this. It knows very well that the mom and dad are going to take care of him. If he tells his mom or dad, they will do it. In the same way, Jnani knows what I need, God already knows. He will take care of it. So I only need Him. I don't need anything else. So that's what Krishna says. Usually desires prompt the prayers. Whether it's a physical needs, psychological needs, intellectual or spiritual needs, These desires prompt the prayers. So according to your desires, so would be your prayer. If I have physical affliction, my prayers are about resolving my physical afflictions. If I have psychological need, then I will be praying for that. Intellectual. And when it comes to spiritual, the prayer will be Kayena vacha manasendriyerva buddhyatmanava prakudesvava karomi yatyat sakalam parasmai narayana yadi samarpyami. Whatever I do with my physical body, mind and senses, all these are all I am submitting to the Lord. Let Him take care of it. I am not going to be anxious about what is going to happen to me in my life. Because just like the child submits to the mother and the father to fulfill its needs, so will be a devotee of the highest order would say, all my needs are taken care by the Lord and I will submit to Him. So He is the best. And why? Because he doesn't seek anything else but the Lord, who will take care of him completely. Of course, it requires an enormous amount of faith and total elimination of ego, and therefore Krishna says such people are called the saints. The saints are those who have completely surrendered to the Lord, and therefore they know that this journey towards the Lord is not one day affair or 1 month or 1 year or maybe a few years. It is many lives. This journey goes on and on and on, because the maturity of the soul to understand the source is God is not going to happen all of a sudden. It has to go through many, many experiences according to the actions performed or created by the soul, the individual Jeeva, and it has to go through all those experiences only to finally realize that all my actions, all my endeavors, all my efforts are only to realize finally that God is the final answer to all the problems. And so it takes so many lives to realize that. And then finally, the spiritual vision of a saint is all in one, one in all. Indeed, the saint would come to declare that indeed everyone, every being is none other than the expression of the Lord. Anything and everything that is happening in this world also, the sunlight, the moon, the waterfall, the earth, all that grows in the earth, all the vegetables, fruits, flowers, mountains and rivers, and all this entire creation, all the living beings are all touched by the pure presence of the Lord. And therefore, if I see one in all in one, and that will become the spiritual vision. So, he also worships God. He would worship God, but not for any particular need of any intellectual or physical and psychological. His need will be a spiritual one, to be one with Him, to merge in that Lord and completely surrender to Him forever. That is the nature of a saint. And this again did not come out of any failure, did not come out of frustration or any kind of a doubt about oneself. No, it is a clear, pure understanding. It is a clarity that gives that maturity to such a saint. Proceeding further, Lord Krishna explains why religion is insisting upon worship. All religions, they all talk about worship of God as an important, immanent aspect of a religious life. Whether you go to a church or a mosque or a Buddha vihar or a temple, there is a form or a symbol, but there is a procedure of worship. Each one is different from each other. You go to a church and you light a candle. You go to a temple, you light a lamp. Or if you go to a Buddha vihar, you go to Buddhist monastery or a place of worship of Buddha, you light a candle. You light a agarbatti. So basically is what, in all of them, if you really look at it, you light a candle, candle also burns and to become nothing. A lamp burns, completely emptying the oil, it becomes nothing. And a incense stick, you burn, it gives beautiful fragrance, at the end there's nothing. You see, The burning is common. The burning is to say that I am completely surrendering myself to you. A religious worship, therefore, even the procedures may be different, even though the procedures are different, but the spirit, the very reason why a person worships is the same. My desires have to be fulfilled. And as Gurudev writes in his commentary, desires are the springs from which thoughts continuously gurgle up to flood the mental zone and disturb the glorious reflection of the truth in it. When the mind is thus disturbed, the discriminative capacity in the intellect is rendered dull, and naturally that individual becomes incapable of distinguishing in his understanding the real from the unreal. When thus the brilliance of the human intellect has been clouded with vapors of desires, the owls of negativity and delusory attachments start hooting in the jungles of the mind. So, such an individual who is thus driven by the desire, he will seek the Lord to fulfill his desire, obviously. And therefore, what you seek decides whom and how you worship. So, in the case of Hinduism, to be precise, there are so many different gods, hundreds of them. Why hundreds of them? Why so many? If truth is one, if that absolute Lord is one, why so many different forms? Yes, the answer to that is because your desires are many. Somebody want physical strength, somebody want mental strength, somebody want the strength of wealth, somebody wants strength of position and power. So different people seeking different things. If you are a school student or a university student, what is that you seek? I need to get going with my studies. Oh Lord, give me memory. Give me the ability to understand. Give me the ability to reproduce what I have understood. So there are deities, Saraswati, Lord Ganesha. Or if you want a physical strength, I want to have a good physical body. I want to do good things in my life, but I need a physical health, etc. Hanumanji. I need to meditate. I want to sit down quietly. I want to calm down my mind. Lord Shiva. I want wealth. I want prosperity. Goddess Lakshmi. If you see, so there are many different things are there, many different, not only about the present day deities whom we know, but in the past as a rituals, they had so many different forms of gods, powers, who can fulfill so many different various requirements and needs of a human being. So therefore, the faith is important. Without the faith, the worship will not begin. If you don't believe that when you go to a temple of Lord Shiva, and if there is a Shivalinga there, if you don't believe that Shivalinga is Shiva, you won't be able to bow down in front of that. You will say, it's only a stone. Why should I bow down in front of a stone? Then obviously, your mind will not be in a mood to worship. Your mind will not be revering, respecting the presence, the place. So when you stand in front of a Shivalinga, you will have the faith and that this in front of me is Lord Shiva. Without that, no religious worship will take place. So faith is there. So Bhagavan Krishna says very clearly that whoever be the deity that an individual would like to worship as per his or her desire, I will strengthen their faith. Whoever it be, whichever be the God you would like to worship, go ahead. No problem. But the one who is going to create and strengthen your faith is him, Lord Krishna declares in Gita. And the object that a person desires through that worship, whatever be the object, it can be name, it can be position, it can be wealth, it can be health, it can be some kind of a power, whatever he needs, or a brilliance in the intellect, whatever be that person needs for which he or she is worshipping a particular form of God, I not only strengthen the faith, but I will only give the desired object to that person. And why do we need to fulfill the desire? Happiness. So the ensuing happiness is also His grace only. It's interesting. If you look at this diagram, Krishna says, I will strengthen the faith. With that faith, the person worships. And because of the worship, he gets a desired object. That is also given by me only. And the desired objects is going to give him happiness. That is also mine only. In other words, the means and the end, both are fulfilled by me only. So whichever be the form of God you worship, you are actually worshipping him alone. Here Lord Krishna does not mean the son of Vasudeva and Devaki. No, he's talking about the self, the supreme Brahman, which happened to manifest as Lord Krishna. So when he says I will fulfill, what does it mean? I, the supreme Brahman, presently has taken the form of Krishna, is the one who actually increases and strengthens the faith of the people so that they worship a particular form of God, and the desired object that is going to be gained out of that worship is provided by me, and therefore I am indirectly responsible for the happiness of every worshipper. So this is quite an interesting analysis, because the monistic monotheism, when you say the Hinduism is monotheistic, not polytheistic. Yes, by principle monotheistic, by practice it is polytheistic. In reality there is only one, but in practice it appears to be many. Just like you stand in front of a mirror, you are one reflection takes place. If there are 10 different mirrors that are there in the same room, your own being will be reflected in 10 different mirrors, and each one may be from different angles. So do you mean to say there are 10 people there? No. In the same way, one Lord alone, one Supreme Brahman alone, as per the need of the worshipper, as per the desire of the worshipper, so will be a form of the deity that will appear. And Krishna says, I will take care of the entire process of creating the faith, making that individual worship, and also to get the desired object, and finally get the happiness out of it. So all that are my work. The point is, not many people know this. Not anyone knows that I am the one behind the whole thing. So this is the interesting part about Krishna's declaration in this chapter. So finally, Lord Krishna decides to reveal himself. He says, now I'll tell you who am I. Before I start about telling you who am I or what I am capable of, which I have already said, that about me being the one who is the dispenser of all the results of worship to everyone in this world. But it is interesting that I am considered as a Krishna who is born at some point of time, and who also disappeared from this earth at some point of time. I am not a subject to birth and death. I am not at all. I am not a manifestation subject to birth and death. But if people think that I am a physical being who came into a manifest as son of Vasudeva and Devaki, and they did all the things in the Gokul and other places, and went to the Mahabharata war, took care of the Pandavas and made them win the war, and then made them establish their thing. And then I also gave the lectures or the singing the great glorious song of Bhagavad-Gita, all that, yes. But please understand, I did not do it as a son of Vasudeva and Devaki. My appearance is the Lord, the Supreme Brahman itself appearing to be a individual and doing all these things, and not that I ever became a human. I appeared as human. I always give the example of an actor who is appearing on the screen as a particular character. Is no doubt is a very fascinating, very beautiful acting. All that is fine. But in essence, that actor is independent of the character. The character is only an appearance. In fact, that is the case with all of us as well. We are all appearances, playing certain characteristic roles in our life. If only we realize that I'm just playing a role, then the whole problem is solved. But we are not able to do that because we are so caught up in that role. The drama stage is so real to us. The happenings are so real to us. And all the joys and sorrows that the character gains, that is also real. And therefore, we are unable to detach ourselves from the role and look at ourselves as only the actor. Whereas Krishna, even though he played many roles in many people's lives and doing so many things, but he always remembered, I'm not the role that I'm playing. This character is not me. This physical form is not me. This mind and thoughts and emotions and feelings and relationships and give and take and joys and sorrows and likes and dislikes and success and failure, all these are all to the character and not to me. This he consistently maintained, and therefore he could go through all things of life, all various vicissitudes of life, without getting ever caught in that. That's why he says, I'm not a manifestation. I'm not subject to birth and death. But if you think I am, that is where you mistake myself as a limited entity, and in the process you also look at yourself as one. So I'm not known at all to all of them as birthless and deathless. And this inability is due to the power of illusion called Maya. In us, it expresses itself as ignorance. And in the world outside, it expresses itself as the variety. So because of our lack of that understanding, or what is called as misunderstanding, so to say, we forgot our true nature and identified as somebody else, as the character. And due to this very misunderstanding, it extends to the world and we misunderstand the entire creation as real. This is the power of Maya. So therefore he said the power of illusion plays as desire and aversion in all living beings. And we are caught up in that continuous process of seeking what we desire and staying away from what we don't like. And this desire and aversion is the autobiography of all of us. If I were to write a book about my experiences in life, it will be filled with what I like and what I don't like, whom I liked, whom I did not like, why I liked, why I did not like, where I wanted to go, where I did not go, where I could not go, or I did not, I had no desire to go, and how those experiences have created so much of a trouble to me, and then I always sought freedom, etc. So the whole the creation is continuously being conditioned by the power of Maya known as likes and dislikes. So the only way to get out of this power is to understand detachedly, look at one's own mind and realize that one is not subject, one should not be subject to this forceful power of likes and dislikes, what is called desires and aversion, and that a person can come out of it. But Krishna says, since I have always maintained myself as independent of the role that I play, independent of the character that I was playing in my life, so I knew not only about my own past, present and future, but I am aware of everyone's past, present and future. It's a very interesting thing because he being the self of all, he being the very life in all living beings, obviously that very self knows everyone's past, everyone's present, everyone's future. It is like a director of a movie who has written the script and he had asked some 4 characters to play different roles, and each one of them are playing their roles as it is given by the direction given by the director. The story is given by him, the story and direction. Usually the story and direction come together. So the story was written by the director and he himself directs it. So every character is playing the role. Do you mean to say that director would not know what is going to happen to each character? Obviously he will know. He only wrote the script. So he knows where the character came from, how the character will play its role and where it will end. The story has to come to an end at some point of time, and then each character has to complete its task. In the same way, Krishna says, I being the one in all, I being the one who is present in life as life in all living beings, not only in this life, in all the various lives that soul has gone through. Therefore, I know the past of all living beings, I know the future of all living beings, and I know the present experiences of all living beings. Therefore, the one who knows all about what is happening and what will happen is the most peaceful and quiet. Why? He knows everything is going on as per the story that is unfolded, and he knows what everyone is going to do, where everyone is going to proceed, how they are going to proceed. Therefore, such a detachedly watching presence is the Lord Krishna's nature. In fact, Arjuna asked this question: what is going to happen at the end of the war? Who is going to win? Do I win or they will win? He was so anxious. Will Pandavas win or the Kauravas win? What is going to happen? Krishna smiled and said, just to do what I ask you to do. Just to do what I ask you to do. Because the result I know, but I cannot tell you now. If I tell you the result, you will lose all the enthusiasm to do what you are supposed to do. The enthusiasm comes only when there is a mystery. There is a surprise element. If the surprise element is gone, you will have no enthusiasm at all. Tomorrow, what is going to happen if you know? There is no enthusiasm. There is no surprise element. It is like when you have a friend and whose birthday party you want to have it as a surprise. Don't you tell everyone involved in that, hey, don't tell him, don't tell her, anything about what we have planned. Okay, we'll give a complete surprise to this person. Okay, all of us stay quiet, and then when she comes into the house, we will do all that, drama of it. Now, all of you know what is going to happen, right? And when she walks in, let us say, to that home, not knowing what is in for her, and she opens the door, and everything is quiet and nobody is there, and she comes and sits there, and suddenly everybody raises from wherever they are, happy birthday to you, dear, and whatever. So many people, oh my God, who did all these things? Who did? So then the hero of the whole thing comes, hey, I did it, I planned everything, let us say. So now, this fellow knows the whole thing. She doesn't know. And it's a surprise. That's why the joy is. The joy is because caught unaware. In the same way, every experience that we go through in our life is a surprise because we don't know what's going to happen next moment. Krishna says that is what is called life. If I reveal to you what is going to happen day after today or tomorrow, day after, from years up till the end of your life, you don't live. You won't live. You do not have the capacity to take that much of information. So the Lord always keeps himself mysterious. He himself hides himself from all. He hides the information from all. Why? Because if it is not, there is nothing called life then. The whole life is, the surprise element of living is not knowing what is going to happen. And so Krishna says, those who are free from the aversion and desire, the dualities of life, they will know me. They will worship me and they will know me. And know me as what? Know me, the one who has decided everything for everyone. Therefore, a saint is one who will submit himself, as I said before, submit himself to the Lord and saying, oh Lord, whatever is going to happen, you know it. And I am not going to be agitated or disturbed by what is going to happen because I know that you are there and you know what is best for me. And then you will do that. I will only surrender to you completely. You take care of it. Whatever I need to do, please tell me. I will complete that. But what is going to happen out of my action? What is going to happen as a result of my action? What is going to happen for me after the end of this physical body's existence? Beyond death, what is going to happen? You know it. I will completely submit to you, and that is up to you to take care of it. This is the reason why those saints who have understood him completely have absolutely no agitation in their mind. They are not anxious. They are absolutely peaceful. So therefore, those who become free from old age and death know Brahman and their own self. And they also know the Lord is not operating from outside. He is operating from within. He is doing everything within every living being. It's like various gadgets are there, and every gadget is touched by the electricity. If the electricity is there, all of them are working. But electricity is also another matter only. But we are not talking about, it's just for comparison here. But the one which is there in all living being is an intelligent, conscious, alert, brilliant presence. It's not a mere power alone. The example, of course, has got its own limitations. So that one which is present in all, guiding us all, is the Lord within us. And the one who will be able to recognize him, realize him, is the one who has become very quiet and peaceful, not allowing the agitations of likes and dislikes in his mind. Such a one will know that very self of me, the one which is residing in me, is the Lord Supreme, who is presiding over all living beings, doing everything inside and outside. Complete surrender to him is the way to reach the abode of him. This is the journey the Jiva takes finally. The journey is therefore a long one. The longer journey is for the one who is not able to submit so easily. The one who is able to completely surrender, the journey is short. Journey is very, very quick. So each one of us, every one of us are on the journey, no doubt, but sometimes we are going the opposite direction also. Once we know the journey is ahead towards God, what we need to do is to shed the luggage from our own shoulders, the luggage of the burden of likes and dislikes, the burden of prejudices, the burden of all negativities, the burden of all impurities. When we start shedding it, no more having the anger, aversion, or lust and greed and hatred and intolerance, violence in our mind. Those kind of luggages, when we keep shedding away from ourselves, the journey becomes lighter, easier, faster, reachable to the goal. Reaching the goal will become a question of time. And thus, as we proceed on, we keep on purifying our mind, become lighter and lighter, enjoy the journey, because after all, we are going back to the source. We are going back to where we came from. We are going back to the absolute oneness. We are going back to the state of peace and bliss. So therefore, let us enjoy the journey. The journey should be a deserving one to reach that goal. If we are angry and upset, the journey not only will become slow, it will stop also. So the saints know that, and therefore they, with all enthusiasm, they moved on, correcting themselves in every occasion, every situation, shedding, as I said, all the negativities, and they moved on. And thus we follow that path, and we also reach the end of the journey. Little more of the 7th chapter I will speak in the next session, and then we'll move on to the next chapter, chapter 8. It's about Akshara Brahma Yoga, which is known as imperishable Brahman. More ideas about how to understand the word Tat in Tattvamasi, because that's what the subject matter in this, from 7th chapter to 12th. These 6 chapters are talking about the nature of Tat in that Tattvamasi statement. Thou art that. What is that? What is that which is referred as God? So about that is what is the subject matter here. We will continue that. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayah, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkhabhat Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.